Hi, everybody. I'm here with Marc King, president of Keller Williams Realty International. Good morning, Marc.
Good morning, Cody. How you doing, buddy?
Great. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm wonderful.
So you have, let's get right to it. You've got a giant announcement for everybody who's interested in what might be happening over in Keller Williams land. So let's get on with it. What's going on?
You're like me at the holidays. Like, let's open presents a week before. I love it. We'll let no grass grow under our feet. Yeah, we're really excited, and we have an announcement, and that is we are hiring we have hired a super high level executive into our firm that is going to give us a muscle we've never had, quite frankly. And her name is Stacy Onen. She's from EXP, president of EXP, and she's joined Keller Williams, and we couldn't be more excited. And there's a lot of reasons we'll dive into and talk about, but man, she is uber talent.
Oh, it's a big deal. It's a big name in our industry, and it's a big mover from EXP Realty, and then also she had served for quite some time at Realty One as well.
Yeah, you know what's interesting, Cody, is she built her own real estate business. By the way, when you meet her, she is the kindest, nicest person. She is, she's a servant leader, which is why we all love her and why she fits in so well. She started her own brokerage, rolled it into a Keller Williams office, became the broker there for a short time, was recruited away to build the systems and models and procedures for Realty One, became the head of operations there, then recruited away again to EXP, built their systems. Imagine, Cody, in our world, we have 800 franchises, a little more, and we have, lots of employees inside those. Imagine all of those employees just being under you. And
right.
That's what she did, 1,000 employees, to run their operations, and they've done a great job.
What's it like when a company makes a hire like this? I mean, I've been a realtor my entire career, right? And so I've made in realtor land what feels like a large hire. But when I talk to you about this is a whole different level. Like this is out of the stratosphere for what I hire for every day. What's this like to put together?
You know what's so interesting, Cody, is I thought that too. And working with Gary Keller every day, my mind is expanded constantly. And I'll share a couple of anecdotes with you and analogies. I'm going to argue that it's very similar to what you and I do every day, Cody. So as a real estate agent in the early 2000s, I kept hitting my head against the same ceiling. And I was decent at what I did, and I loved listings, and I had a big sphere of influence, and I could sell 60 or 100 houses a year, in spite of myself. And that was a lot back then. I know you were just getting
right. I've heard, yeah, I've read the tablets on the rocks. I remember what it was like.
That's what happened. So, but I'll tell you, I didn't understand at the time, but one key hire tripled my business, and I went to number one in my board, number 67 in the industry. And that, I mean, by the way, that sounds like a hashtag brag. If you know me, there's no possible way I could do that. The way that we did that is by one amazing human being who put in all the systems, all the models, the lead acquisition strategies, the sphere of influence, 8x8, 12 direct, 33 touch at the time. All of those things were things that I knew how to do. I'd been to the training, but I'm not going to do it. I have zero talent there and zero patience for it. So this time's like that time. What I didn't know at the time, and this is probably my fourth hire, what I didn't understand at the time is when massive talent shows up in your life, if you blink, you miss. Every one of us right now is one hire away from doubling our business. We go to classes, we get coaching, and all are amazing things, and you should. And we're one hire away from doubling our business. If we get that one thing correct, right? We're building our goals, and we're going to go grow our business, and we're chasing the next thing. And we go to masterminds, learn what's working, right? You're one hire away from doubling your business.
When you say that, that makes me think about another saying I love, which is we are always one thought away from everything looking entirely different. Like our whole life, one thought away from our whole lives looking different. And I wonder sometimes if that one thought or new thought comes in the form of a new person on the team.
Absolutely. It comes in the form of external environment. It comes, go back to, for me, it was March 13th, 2020. I woke up to some awesome businesses and partners and, reserves to what in the world just happened. And are we going to go out of business? And, fear reigned. One event can cause everything to change. But I think here's the other big key to this that I didn't quite understand until working with Gary. It's not just understanding how to spot talent. If you've done the CV process or KPAs, you know, we have kind of a cheat code.
And that in and of itself is art and science.
It sure is. And,
yeah.
and it's a kind of a cheat code, right? For identifying talent if it's not your natural behavioral style, or if you haven't done it forever. But what I've learned is it's not just about being able to spot the talent, and it's not just about being able to move quickly. It's about who you have to be to attract that talent to your vision, to your business. So what I watched, and I'm going to tell you, there's zero chance that I think Stacy's coming to work just with me. She gets to meet with Gary, and she's like, "This, I mean," and by the way, and this is the thing that I'm so proud of, is the number one reason she's making this move is culture. And it's our culture that keeps showing up, and no matter what we do and how we pivot and how we change, it's culture. So you might ask, Cody, why make a, what can I, is that what you're going to ask next? I thought
I actually had two questions, and the first one actually is again, like this is the size of move or hire that I don't get to make in my own company. And so when I look at this, I think, like, part of the world says grow that kind of talent from within, like go and hire it from within. It's always best to grow from within. But then I also see companies out there across the world that are hiring from others, or saying, well, this person's killing it over here. And not every football team or basketball team hires from within. And so I'm curious, when you look at that, why do you reach across to another large real estate brokerage and say, I want that one? Why do you do that?
You're always open. And I think this is, you know, I'll give you a quick example. I don't know if you can see this that well, but so this is kind of the bell curve of talent in any business. And what we know,
so you're not an artist, you're the president of a real estate.
Terrible
artist is not
100%. it. But think of who, let me give you an example. There was a time where you, Cody Gibson, could have hired Gary Keller to run your business. Gary Keller was starting out his career. The reason we know that is a gentleman named J.B. Goodwin did.
Yeah, fair. Okay, fair.
There was a time you could have hired Gary Keller, right? You can't hire Gary Keller today. He won't take, he's got 2 jobs already. We're working him like crazy. So you can't hire him today. But there was a time you could. So it's kind of, it's always being open. It's understanding how to spot talent. And it's always thinking big enough and having a big enough vision that other people will be attracted to that vision. They can see their vision inside of yours. And today we have 200,000 people that see their vision inside of Gary's. Think about how massive that has to be. But today, Gary, I don't want to say Gary's over the hill, because this drawing could draw the wrong conclusion. But Gary's at the top of his game. You're not going to hire Gary. But there's a Gary out there, and I think Gary's he's the most amazing human I've ever worked with, and my mind is, you know this, you're with me almost on a daily basis, and he blows our minds.
But he's not the last amazing human in our industry. I mean, yeah, there's other Garys out there. Yes.
So your job, Cody, and my job is to go find those people here, and then we develop them. Well, let's go back to your actual question, because I think this is really important. By the way, you can tell I was a sports coach too, the way I use the right X's and O's.
X's and O's.
But let's go back to, you know, you brought up a great question of why not build internally? Why go outside? I want you to think about what Keller Williams truly is as a parent company, franchisor, et cetera. For 35 years of our existence, we were the #1 training company, we're an information company, we're a franchise company. We told franchises how to go build amazing brokerages. We had training, we had events. That was our entire ecosystem, our entire business model. This is KW. And if you've been with us more than 3 years, you remember that's what we were.
Right.
3 years ago, mortgage came on the scene, and suddenly we've got a different vertical. And now a lot of people are going, oh, now I get it. Now I understand where the industry's going, why I need to have a lead acquisition strategy around mortgage if I want to be at the top in the future. So now we got mortgage. Then you could throw in insurance, and you could throw in offers and concierge and all the other things.
Right.
And so 3 years, because we've been around 38, for 3 years, we had mortgage. We made the big pivot, and Gary said, we've got to invest in tech. If we want to, and by the way, that's been a bloody, bruisey,
Well,
dirty,
I
ugly.
remember the comment from stage. Yeah, we're becoming a tech company and all the comments around it and conversation. And you know what's interesting through the whole piece of it? I've just been able, and you're even closer, I've been able to watch Gary just sit there and stand there and walk through it and go, what do we do next?
Yeah.
Like, I get it. This worked or this didn't work as well. What do we do next? What's
Yeah.
the next right move?
And a lot of people don't, because of how it was launched and several other things, we absolutely fail our way forward around here. But because of that, a lot of people aren't going back. Right. I got food poisoning in high school at Arby's. I don't know if you know what that is. I have not been back to Arby's. I'm sure they have amazing food. I'm not going back. So, but here's what's crazy. The last 12 months, right? We had a complete overhaul a year ago. I don't know if you heard about this, Cody, but we have new executive leadership. We have KWX, the parent company. We have unbelievable Avenger-like muscle in every single stop. But we've also started 14 new businesses. And when you think about the segments, for example, let's hold off on expansion, but you think about the segments. In the past, we had segments and we said, pay a fee, get an extra subscription to X. And
right, like an add-on.
Yeah. Today, we're actually operating those segments. It's a whole different world, building referral networks inside of it, marketing to it. We're actually operating them. So we have 14 more verticals that we operate as a company. We've done all of that in the last year. Oh, by the way, we set up the largest real estate school the industry's ever seen in 6 months. That's one of those things. We have a nationwide brokerage. You might have heard of it, Keller Williams Expansion Network.
Right. Yes. Yes. Deep. Yeah. Very, very aware. Yes. A lot of work.
So here's the thing. Think about it from this perspective. Our ops, and I'll again, our ops team was only around that vertical 12 months ago. And look, we're transparent. I'm always going to tell it like it is. Our head of operations, the person who is over all of that, quit right when all the transition happened. Right. So guess
just time out for a nanosecond. Every realtor who's ever had somebody that worked for her has had this story happen. Like they bring on a new builder or a new account, or they're like, oh my gosh, I have these 12 new listings. And the ops person goes, peace out. I'm not doing this, right? Like we've all had that happen. And it sounds like there's no business that gets so big that's insulated from that happening.
100%. And she was so talented at this vertical.
She's great. Yes.
And I honestly, I think she would be in this seat because this was her genius, but she chose a different path and there were other reasons. But what that left was, and you will all identify with this, if you've grown your business to any size, you will identify with this next statement. I looked up and went, I'm now operations. And that's the most terrifying thing. If you know me, that's the most terrifying thing you could walk into. Right. If you want to outline, I'm not good at many things. I'm really not good at operations or details or systems or models. I'm going to follow them and I'll go work all day, every day, and I'll go get listings and we'll do all those things. But I'm not going to put a P&G manual together. I'm not going to do any of the 140 some odd tasks the millionaire real estate agent needs to do that I'm no good at. I'm just not, I know how to do them. I've been to the class. I'm not going to do them. So for roughly, let's call it 8 months, this was our operations head. Now, I want to be really clear on this and respectful because I had 50 people at KWI step up in a major way and go, I'll take this piece, I'll take that piece, it was a culmination of people just jumping in. We are one team, we got your back. How can we help? But we didn't have what I'm going to call a professional, trained, experienced head of operations.
Right.
Until Carl brought in the person who ran the operations at Home Depot and then later ran the largest region in Walgreens. And her name's Devin Milligan. So what happens is now I'm flanked with someone who is, and no offense to this person in the past, but they weren't a trained, educated, person in that they grew up in our system, knew our system really well. We now have LeBron James of operations, right? Yes. And she jumps in and she's been here 5 weeks. She makes my head spin with her talent. And we are already amazingly organized. Like Family Reunion is going to be amazing because she's grabbed it. She's amazing. But you look up and you go, well, wait a minute, that's a full-time job. for her. But we got 14 more in
Right.
various stages of flight. So what happens with Stacy is, oh, by the way, no real estate experience here. So you've all done this too. You've hired an amazing person and then had to teach them real estate.
Said, okay, so here's an escrow. Here's what this means. Here's what a home inspection report means, like all this stuff, right? And there's the age-old question for us that hire in the agent world. Do you hire people that have experience in real estate, or do you hire people without? And both probably have blessings and curses.
Well, here's what I've learned from Gary is the answer is always both, right?
Both.
I think you're right. I think we do the same thing in our market centers or brokerages. Do you hire, someone who has a lot of real estate experience to be your team or your MCA, or do you hire an amazing person who you know is going to kill the team leader job, but you got to teach them real estate?
So big thinkers say and, small thinkers say or.
100%. So now you bring on, I'm now flanked. In 5 weeks, I've gone from a terrible situation where I am the biggest pain point in all of Keller Williams to the most amazing person I've met, no real estate experience, most amazing person I've met from real estate. So the person who single-handedly, this is the top executive in all operations in real estate.
Right. So I've got two questions, because I know that we got a short time. I got two questions on this. My first is around Stacy. When she says culture is why she's coming to Keller Williams, what does that mean to you? I know you can't speak for her, but what does it mean to you?
It's fascinating because we all have a different interpretation of what culture, and we kind of bandy that word around here. Here's what it means to me. And I have no idea what the culture was like at other companies where she worked. I do know what the culture is like here. I know what the culture is like from market center to market center. And here's, in our conversations, here's what constantly came up. Zero ego. We're all one team. We have each other's backs. We'll jump in. It's funny. I got lots of texts this morning, Cody. President EXP moving to Keller Williams. And I got texts saying, are you okay? What's happening? Where are you going? But immediately everybody's worried about, and by the way, I would give her my job. I don't care what my title is. I'll take out the trash.
You've had like 25 jobs already anyway. So
I only keep them 2 years, but at the end of the day, there's no ego here. So when she and I, what kept coming up over and over and over again is a team unit. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna care about each other. We're gonna care about our families more than we care about work. And ironically, guess who ends up being number one is the people who do focus on God, family first, then business, right? And so I think for me, that's what it meant. You could take the Y4C2Ts and a transcript of our very first hour and 30-minute conversation, was supposed to be 30 minutes. And you can line them up and you can identify every single one of the Y4C2Ts. So, and adding that to her operational muscle and all that she's built in all of the industries. And keep in mind, the fastest growing segment, Keller Williams, I'm very proud of our company. We're the only franchise model growing market share. Right. And that shocks a lot of people. It's hard to grow when you're the biggest, right? And so, but we're still growing. We're still growing market share. I'm very proud of that. The segment that's growing versus all the other franchise model is a nationwide brokerage. And so if you know anything about Gary Keller, we're going to have a solution and answer for anything an agent wants. Whatever we can do to serve the agent, keep the agent as the center of the transaction, the fiduciary, we're going to do that. So now think about the operational muscle. Think about all the businesses. Cody, you've got an insider view on this, but think about K-Score, the largest real estate school in the world, needs operational muscle, right? And we have an amazing project lead on that. But now we have someone who understands nationwide challenges and issues and brokerage laws and all those things. Advertising. Now think about Kwin, nationwide brokerage, a network of one different states, including DC, that need multiple brokers and need help,
which makes your head spin, by the way. Like you go more than 5. I mean, the idea of it, I love it. You and I have talked about it 1,000 times. The second you go more than 5 or 10 minutes into it, there's questions that I just go, I wouldn't even thought of the question, much less the answer. Like the question, I go, oh my gosh, you're a genius just to ask the question. I wasn't even thinking that.
Well, the genius of Gary Keller is everything he does is accretive to everything we've already done. And by the way, it's my new word I'm learning. It means additive. It means helpful. It means combining and right. So just learning this, Cody. I'm always going to share with you, my friend. Perfect. But what happens is you have a franchise network, the only one still growing market share. and then you go stand up a nationwide brokerage. Well, how does that work? Well, what you do is you make the franchise network the beneficiary of that nationwide brokerage. So you have all the benefits of both models and none of the downside if you don't want them. So that's that plus, and all of our segments, you know, I mean, I could go into each one of them, but because of real estate school and other things and the way we're operating those.
Right. Luxury, sports, and entertainment, land, like all the, I mean, there's a whole, and I got one final question, and I know I've kept you too long. I'm sorry. One final question. The first rectangular looking thing. Yeah. That thing on the left, that first pillar that made Keller Williams what Keller Williams is today. So as president of the company, my question would be, why not just stay there? And some people would say, do what you're good at, do what made you great. So why all the other stuff? Like, it sounds cool, but why all the other stuff?
Kodak. Here's the thing about working for a visionary.
Yes.
We are not going to rest on our laurels. So let me ask you this. You know how many national real estate companies have ever reached #1 in the industry, Cody?
Well, there's always been one at #1. They just didn't stay there long.
100%. There's been a lot. I mean, Remax was #1 and Cole Banker was #1.
They've had their turn. Yep. This one, then this one, then this one. Yeah.
One was #1, right? Now Keller Williams is #1. How long do you expect to stay there? Like, this idea, and we all make the same mistake. We get to #1. I did this in my real estate sales business, right? It's natural.
Right. Sure.
Your foot off the gas and go, I've made it, right? We've made it. And there's no we've made it in Gary Keller. So what you understand is, and this is, I got to tell you, my first conversation with Gary after taking this role, and I've obviously worked closely for a while, but after taking this role, my first conversation was, I feel like I prepared for a role for 20 years that no longer exists.
Right.
I thought I was walking in to lead this, which is what my background is. This is where my last 10 roles were.
Yeah. It's what you'd seen the previous presidents run. Yeah.
Yeah. And suddenly it was, so we stripped everything down to the studs. And the testament to our KWI team is, rarely did anybody in the field even notice all the changes we were making. We've stood up 14 new businesses, and a couple of them already the largest in the world in 12 months. It has been a hectic ride. I can tell you, my wife will tell you, she's worn out, I'm worn out. It's been a ride. So I can't wait for family reunion.
Right? Well, I know you've got more coming for us at reunion and things that we can't even talk about yet. So yeah, Mr. King, president of Keller Williams Realty.
Tons of announcements.
Yes. Thank you for taking the time. We're excited about Stacy. Very last question. I know I got to go. When does she start?
Yeah, it's a great question. She will be, I don't know if that's announced yet, to be honest, but it'll be right after.
Right. That sounds amazing. All right, Mark, president of Keller Williams Realty International. Thank you for taking a few minutes.